Okay, so here we are. Breakfast this morning was excellent. I mean, so, one of the things I remember saying to you was, you're one of the most interesting guys that I know.
Right.
And I also think that, that's measured on how late you make me at the office. So at the dental office, there are a certain number of patients that get me behind.
Right.
As I'm going between patients, we see about like 20 to 30 people a day.
Right.
When you're in the schedule, everyone takes notice, and I certainly hear about it from Mandy.
Brace themselves, right?
Yeah, right.
I've been told that. I remember. I actually remember when I met you. It was, I think, 11 years ago.
Okay.
Might have been 12. It was very near when you started.
Mm-hmm.
And I came in and I'm like, wow, this guy is sharp. He's into technology and stuff like that. And then, of course, you did my teeth.
Mm-hmm.
And with what I do in my career with real estate, I'm dealing with people all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I never really paid attention to how visible and what type of an impression your smile makes on people. I grew up smiling all my life. I've never been accused of not being fun to be around because I've always been a people person. I just enjoy people.
Yeah.
And all of that. But I will say that the journey and then we'd get to talking and pretty soon people are knocking on the door and I'm like, oh no, I'm that guy.
Yeah.
That's getting you in trouble. So
yeah. Well, it's always been a pleasure. One of the things that is one of the gifts of being a dentist is that I get to have so many relationships, so many, one-on-ones with patients. So over the years, I look back and I'm like, okay, who were my favorites?
Oh.
So you are my very first choice for this.
Amazing.
This is the, I know. And this is the first patient I chose was you. Mostly because of how much I've learned from you, I heard something about wisdom and knowledge. And so I always got a lot of wisdom from you. They say that knowledge is knowing that a tomato is a fruit, but wisdom is knowing not to put it in a fruit salad.
Right. No
and you've always given me wisdom throughout the years. And so that's, I think, why you've made me so late is because I've stuck around. I'm like, okay, I'm going to figure out something from Joel. Also, one of the things that I admire about you is that your ability to enjoy the moment is above average. You always seem to be enjoying our conversations.
Right.
That's something you've probably cultivated throughout the years. I'm sure that doesn't come naturally to everyone. It certainly isn't something that comes naturally to me. Also, you remind me of some people in my family that I love. And so that's why our relationship has been
a connection there.
Yeah, exactly. So it's always been so natural for me. So anyway, thanks for being here and thanks for starting me off on this journey. I don't know where it's going to lead.
Sure.
We're probably going to talk a lot about life and some of the experiences you've had, and some of the input and some of the lessons that I draw from that. One of the things that you said this morning to me that was fascinating is that healthcare in your house in Ireland. So you've become a resident of Ireland, being a homeowner, and I'm not sure if that's the official designation.
It's close.
Okay, so I've never had a chance to talk to you about that, know, and to come back and say, how did that whole thing start? I remember you said, I think your son moved there.
Yeah, Reese.
Okay, and after he moved there, was that something that started you thinking about it?
Yeah, that was interesting. So Reese, well, first of all, before we get into Reese, thank you for your kind words, by the way. I've never really considered myself interesting.
Yeah.
Other than what I do know is I find people interesting. So there's a sincerity about my vibe when I'm around with people. And I think I've learned how to become a really good listener.
Yep.
And as a result of hearing people, I can talk to them. And when people know they have a voice and they're being heard, they will engage.
Yes.
And I don't know, we have so many devices that allow us to communicate.
Exactly.
That sometimes we just forget to talk.
Right.
Hey, how's it going? Or to respond sometimes if it's not going well, just be sincere enough to say, man, that sucks. And just acknowledge that you've been seen or heard or whatever.
That's exactly right.
But so the Ireland thing, that has started a new phase in our life. And my wife, Andrea, we call it Andrea Andy. So backstory there, Andy and I started dating when I was 15 years old. So that would be 47 years ago.
47 years.
Yeah, can you believe it? And we're high school sweethearts, dated for 10 years and then got married. So we are now on our 37th year together.
Amazing.
And so as a result, we have developed a lifestyle, and we have photos. Like initially it was just snap photos with Kodak cameras with little ice cube flashes on them, right?
Yeah.
So in our journey, if you took a look at our lifestyle, we have hundreds of thousands of photos of things we've done, all different phases. And the one thing that we realized as time goes on, our phases are in decades.
Yep.
So we literally define our lifestyle by phases.
Yep.
When we met, we were thick into building our real estate company.
Right.
That was the build it phase.
Yep.
So everything about our lifestyle then was very similar to what you're doing and experiencing now. You're growing your business, and you're doing everything you can to keep everyone satisfied and together, and have your inventory. And with you, it's patients, employees, inventory, all that stuff. So in our 50s is when things changed. So I was about, I don't know how old you are. I'm
49.
49. Okay. So this will be timely for you.
Yeah. So right when you started your 50s?
In our 50s. Yep. Yeah. At age 49, Andy was 50. We were in La Conner. There was a restaurant there called Seeds.
Yep.
And we were sitting talking about what are we doing? What is all this about?
Yeah.
We have income, we have employees, we have a lifestyle, we have a home, we're doing all of this, but is that really what we're doing? Why are we doing this? We started asking the question.
Yeah.
So when Andy turned 50, she's a year older than I am. When she turned 50, we're having dinner and we got a brown napkin out. Now in college, we had a napkin. Okay. And when we were dating in high school, we made a list of the things we wanted to do together in our life. So at 50, to go back and revisit, have we done that? Did we do what we got together to do? We realized that, what we have and what you see is not an accident. It was a planned event and in chaos getting there, right?
Yeah.
So at 50, we decided, here's what we want to do. We want to do two things that are important. Our parents are getting older.
Yeah.
So we want to build a lifestyle that we can go do everything we can while they're still healthy, knowing that down the road, you were mentioning this about healthcare, that as we get older, the real cost of healthcare gets higher at this level, the finishing run type thing. And so we decided what we wanted to do. We were at that stage now where a lot of our friends' parents were starting to get older, having strokes, heart replacements, body part replacements, all this stuff, mobility issues.
Right.
And it was more necessary for the children to be involved in their lifestyle. So we decided we better start focusing on this next phase so that we can step into our phase of availability, right? So in our 50s, we rewrote our list of what do we want to do in the next 15 years.
Right.
And we wrote it down, and it's really kind of funny. We still have the napkin.
That's what I was wondering.
And we are crossing things off that list. But the other thing we wanted to do, seriously, is have our children going, now where the hell are they? Right.
Nice.
So we wanted to be able to
Get
send
lost,
a postcard from somebody that they're getting in the mail. And we wanted to do that in our 50s so that we wouldn't resent it if we waited till retirement, or kind of the phase we're in now, semi-retiring, where all of a sudden the need to be available could rob us
right.
of making that happen. Mm-hmm. So said all that to say this, what we didn't anticipate was a pandemic.
Yep.
So that changed things a little bit because it changed how everyone was moving around.
That's true.
Not just here, but in the world, how business was being done. There was a lot of angst and fear. And the whole idea of not being able to go somewhere was weird, especially if your lifestyle goal was to travel.
Right.
Well, Reese and Rowan graduated. They were in graduate school in Scotland. And then when they got out of graduate school, because Rowan's parents, they're Americans living in Ireland, they had bought a 68-acre farm in County Cork.
Okay.
And in Ireland, historically, Ireland is, you see hedgerows and beautiful fields full of sheep and cattle, right? Well, at one point, it was a heavily forested island. And basically, over time, they logged it all to build the fleets and for England and all of that. So what Reese and Rowan are doing is occupying the home in Ireland and rewilding, they call it rewilding, the 68 acres.
Really?
So they are literally planting native plants, oaks, hazelnut, whitethorn, blackthorn, all this stuff. And that's what they're doing. We thought, it'd be kind of fun to travel to Ireland, but we didn't really want to go and couch surf with our 28-year-old, right?
Yeah.
So we thought, what would it be like to just, we know we want to travel in Europe. So what's it like to fly from Ireland? Maybe we should get a place there and hub out of that so that we can go for a longer period of time.
And your real estate company allowed you to just be comfortable with okay, what's the real estate like in Ireland, right?
Exactly. Because, and then the other thing that's made that easy is technology.
Yeah.
Totally. So back years ago, that we didn't have 4G and 5G and we didn't have Wi-Fi everywhere and we didn't have satellite and we didn't have Starlink. We didn't have all these things and apps that made it easy to be gone while you're still doing business.
Right.
COVID changed that. All of a sudden, now the people that thought that they needed to be with a real estate agent in an office somewhere to do real estate realized, no, I don't need to do that. I just need a phone and the internet and someone to represent what we need to do. And certainly we're not going to gather. So now electronic signatures and everything to do business became the norm. So that just opened the window for us to be in Ireland and still do real estate. I'm 8 hours ahead of everyone here. But they don't care where I'm sitting when I'm on the phone or sending them an email. They don't even know.
Right.
So there's a secret there, by the way, on what I just said. Andrea's the one that learned this years ago. Okay. Especially when you're busy. And I know, I watch, when I come in here, I'm just amazed at what your operation can do here in a 8-hour period of time. I can get a lot done, but that is a schedule that's just amazing to me on how that works. One thing that we realized is we don't tell people about our lifestyle, our clients. Yeah. Because they don't, I don't want to say they don't care, but they're the ones that are important, not us. Right. Right? Yep. So we just learned. It's not, traditionally, it's not okay. If someone's looking to buy a house, they want to go look at it, right? Right. It's not okay to tell them I can't do that because I've got a birthday party for my kid or grandchild. That's not allowed. Right. But if I say, gee, we can do that, but I am booked. I've got an appointment. And I can be available here or here, but I can't be there at that. Can we work that? Oh yeah, sure, no problem. Yep. Why? Well, because you're a professional, and of course you're busy if you're a professional, right? Yeah, exactly. So we've learned how to have that balance of work-life balance.
That's pretty sharp. That's pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're forgiven for that.
You're forgiven for that. Yep.
So anyway, we did the Ireland thing, purchased a home there, which is a whole different experience than buying a house here. I bet. And as a result of that, we're not citizens, but there are certain things that we do have access to. One is there it's a socialized medicine situation. So all residents of Ireland have health care. Okay. It's very old and established, so it's really interesting. You have some nice clinics, but Ireland's very rural. When you're outside of Dublin or Northern Ireland or Cork, the cities, you're dealing with 200 or 300-year-old buildings that they're doing this stuff in. But what we do have is they have health clinics and local doctors, and we have access to them. We can set up an appointment.
Okay.
If I need to get blood labs or whatever, I give them a call and they'll get me in a day or two later. Come on in, set up an appointment, get that done.
Nice.
It might cost $70 US to do that. Yeah. It's just, and you're dealing with the doctor that's going to do it. It's not, there's not a huge staff and all of that stuff. Hospital, any procedures that are needed, you can schedule those. And what's interesting, they don't have the apps. Like here we have apps where we manage our patient files and make payments and do all this stuff. There, everything's still done by the mail.
Oh, really?
So if there's an appointment, for example, just a routine a procedure that needs to be done at the hospital, they put you in the hopper, and then the hospital sends you a letter about 2 weeks before they're ready to book that procedure, and it's an offering for you to actually accept that appointment.
Oh, really?
So they don't even set the appointment for you. They just tell you, here's when we've got you scheduled. You need to call and confirm that you'll be here. Because if you're not, they'll next in line goes there.
I see.
That procedure, to me, as a foreigner, let's just say I went in and I had a endoscope. They went in and scoped my throat. Right. €89. So that'd be the equivalent, just shy of $100.
Okay.
Is what that cost was. I didn't need insurance. I didn't need what would you call it, in system.
And that would cost what, like $3,000 in the US?
Yeah, probably it would start at about $1,800 plus then all the other things that get tacked on with it. If there's a shot involved, there's another. Right? All the coding system. None of that.
So in the $2,000 range, probably. Yeah. And those, times are changing. It seems like I hear a lot more about people settling in Portugal.
Yes.
And Ireland, something I haven't considered, but I'm curious.
So there are benefits in all of them.
Okay.
Portugal's easiest on getting a visa that would allow you to stay there as an expat or a resident.
Okay.
Not necessarily a citizen.
Right.
So there's certain financial requirements in these countries. If you can prove that you are not going to be a burden on their system, then you can get extended stay visas. So like, for example, Ireland, it's 90 days. Okay. When we land, they stamp our passport, and then 90 days later, we have to be out of there. Now, we can travel out of Ireland into France or Italy, Greece, whatever.
Okay.
Any time in that 90-day period, but my window in Ireland is 90 days.
I see.
There are ways to get those extended where you can stay longer, but there's more you have to do. You have to actually prove to their system that you've got the ability to financially take care of yourself.
Really?
The most interesting thing about that journey in lifestyle, I guess I will switch gears and talk a little bit about lifestyle and balance. And by the way, I'll just keep talking and you interrupt me and change subject if you need to. Yeah. But there's a lot of things in our journey that got us to this point. Right. And the first one, and I'm going to go back because you and I, we spent a lot of time talking about work-life balance.
Yeah, that's my favorite topic.
And it's a great topic because, and by the way, work-life balance is not just one thing and everyone's got it. It depends on how old you are and where you are in your journey will determine what does that look like.
Yep.
So I will tell you, our first experience with work-life balance, it wasn't even called that when this would be 30 years ago. Sure. Work-life balance, what's that? I grew up, it's like you work your butt off. That's what you do, and you do what it takes. Yeah, what does that look like?
There is no balance.
Balance, self-care.
Yeah.
Now, I'm smiling and joking about that, but that is important. You know why I know that's important? Because 30 years later, I can look back and see what happened if I wouldn't have done that.
Sure.
And there's a lot of evidence of that. So, but I remember Andy and I, we bought our first house. I was 28, she was 29. Ian was born. So we bought our first house in 88. And I remember specifically, Reese was born in 94. Ian was born in 90. Mm-hmm. We got married in 88, so 7 years. I was 35 years old. Mm-hmm. And Andy and I were working hard. Yep. We were trying to hold it all together. I was working in a corporate sales position, driving 30,000 miles a year in my car, all over Puget Sound.
Wow.
Paid a salary plus a commission.
Okay. Yep.
So I had a guaranteed income, but with the commission and the sales, it was in advertising and in the apartment industry, I had a big client base that I had to service and all this and that. And so back then there wasn't a 40-hour work week. Like, who does that?
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
65 hours a week would be the expectation at our income level.
Yeah. And
then really that was what you worked. And then you'd go home and think about it all night. So, it was 80, 85 hour a week.
Yeah.
And then you fit the rest of everything in on top of that. Mm-hmm. So stress was an understatement.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting in traffic and wound tight when I would get home. Mm-hmm. And then, we've got 2 young children that also are excited to see their parents and trying to work all that out. And what I'm going to tell you next is it's personal, but it's a key moment in the journey that's really helped us. And that was about, I think I was 35. So Andy was probably 36. And we were just at each other. We weren't fighting. We weren't angry. There was not separation or divorce type, but we just weren't right. We weren't connecting, and we were sniping at each other and just testy, I guess. Mm-hmm. And we stopped in the middle of just a pathetic argument over something that I don't even remember. That's how big of a deal that was.
Right.
But the pattern was tense. It was just, everything was tense, angry and wound a little tight. And we realized, the whole world has plenty of things that it will do to get after us. Yep. We got plenty of things that'll take us down.
Yep.
The one thing that we should do and can do is just be kind to each other.
Yep.
So we literally made an agreement to just be kind to each other. Right. We didn't make an agreement to change. We didn't make an agreement to stop being testy or whatever. It was just be nice, because the rest of the world isn't.
Yep. That's beautiful.
And life has its way of trying to rip you apart.
Yeah.
And will.
Right.
And what does that look like? Well, it looks like too much debt. Mm-hmm. So we're climbing our careers and using credit cards to supplement income that we didn't have, trying to stay ahead of the game there. Mm-hmm. So now all of a sudden we're sitting in traffic. It sucks. We don't have enough money to pay all our bills all the time.
Right.
So now you're a bookkeeper in a juggling process and navigating all that. That's still pretty common. I can look back over everyone's life and kind of see where they're at in the phase.
Yeah.
But the making the decision to be kind to each other. Yeah. Some of our family thinks we joke about it. We've been together so long that I will say in the beginning it was Joel and Andy, and it really was. I was a sophomore in high school.
Right.
And it's still Joel and Andy.
Yeah. Cool.
And I was actually talking with Andrew, I was out of town and just got back, and Andy was sharing with me a little angst. And right now we're in a political climate that's changing. And it's different. There's all kinds of stuff going on, and it's putting people in a position to start asking questions and seeing things maybe they hadn't thought about. I'm learning things right now just watching the news of things that I've been wandering around, working, paying taxes since I had to. When I started working, going, I've never heard of that.
Right.
What's that all about?
Yep.
And I looked at Andy and I said, so I understand all this. And yes, there's a lot going on. I'm totally intrigued right now with all of it.
Right.
I said, but remember, in the beginning, it was Joel and Andy. And it's still Joel and Andy.
Yeah.
So what really matters right now is what you and I are doing.
Right.
All the rest of this is going to do what it's doing. But we know just with time, time will fix things. And
So the success in your marriage reminds me of John Gottman and his book about, and he was in Seattle, and they did do you know who John Gottman is?
Not familiar.
Okay.
I may be and just don't know it.
Yeah, you probably are. But what they're known for is they put recording devices in a house, and they actually witnessed people in married life.
Oh.
And they did a really long-term study. It's the best study that I've heard of. And it's considered a very good study about what makes some people divorce and some people stay married. And it's exactly what you said. It's that people are basically that if they're polite to each other.
Right.
And that's what they did. They if this couple is kind to one another, they don't have to agree.
Right.
But how do they fight? Are they fighting fair, or are they speaking to each other like as they would speak to like a friend, or someone that they respect? So that's huge. I'd love that. That's great. So you agree to be kind to each other. That's it. You don't have to be a different person or like all of a sudden, or flowers every week or nothing. If it's not in your wheelhouse, you don't have to do it. Right. But just to be polite to each other or to be kind, I think that's something simple that we can all do. And I see that in you guys. One of my favorite things about Andy is that her common sense is way higher than anyone else. So you seem to me like the dreamer. Mm-hmm. and you're like, well, why don't we do this? And like, this sounds great. And she seems to be kind of like the common sense, or the one that is grounded. Very grounded. And so she's also really in tune to herself and her what she likes, what she doesn't like, but in kind of like a very peaceful way that is probably very stabilizing for you. Absolutely. So and always has been. Right. Which is really interesting in our relationship. She really is. She's my secret. My superpower really is. That's good. Is her. Andy's very, very clear on what she's clear on, and she's very open-minded. Mm-hmm. So at the same time. Yes. And so she refers to herself, and she calls it a shift, a sand dune. Which is kind of weird, because when you think about a sand dune really is something that's shifting all the time because of the wind. Mm-hmm. But it's always in the same location. Mm-hmm. And so it's just this big thing there. And when it finally does make a shift, it's big because it's noticeable. And she's always been that way. Nice. Very, Andy has a literally every year that we've been together writes in January. Mm-hmm. Oh, she writes her list of what needs to happen in 2025, what the goal is or whatever. That's neat. She's ran a budget, a ledger, literally old school. That's good. Sits down and writes it all out because we recognize that personal, if you want to be in control, or if you want to be the one that's going to run your life, then you have to know what your life is. And I'm of the generation that, now we have phones and all that, but I grew up knowing that if you wanted to know about people, you look at their calendar to see how they spend their time, and you look at their checkbooks to see how they spend their money. That's good. And that'll tell you almost everything you need to know about them. And so Andy's smart. She's the one that started our real estate company. We had such a great time buying a house up here that she thought, gosh, I could do that. I could wander around and look at houses. And so she started the real estate company, and I joined her, I guess it would be 5 years after. Oh, really? Yeah, after Semanko Realty Group started. Okay. I then stepped away from my career in advertising, sales, and everything, and came up and started doing real estate together. Nice.
And it's been fun. She'll tell you it was terrifying because I'm messy. She had a great organized life, great organized desk, office.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I'm a, where can I put this where that I can remember where it is? And so all that's on top of my desk. And
that's good.
Yeah, that kind of upset the apple cart a little bit, having to commingle space. But we figured it out and worked really well together.
Okay.
And have enjoyed that. So
that's good.
Anyway, that's a long way around to answer the question.
Well, like
that you had.
Basically, the success in your marriage is something I always admired. And the other thing that I like is that you guys take this trip on the boat. And I think it's
interesting.
Yeah, and I think it's Andy's mom, right? That had the boat. And she and her husband did that.
Yeah.
Before you guys, right?
Actually, Andy's mom has been single basically since I've known her.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So what was unique about her mom was a world history teacher.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
She was a teacher for both of us in high school. So we went to school.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Fun.
Yeah.
So, Andy, she was a year older than me in school.
Mm-hmm.
And how we got together, she was a cheerleader. Mm-hmm. And our school was so small that a lot of the classes combined. So there would be freshmen and sophomores in the same class.
Right.
So I had a class with a couple of her friends that were cheerleaders. And I was helping them in math or something. So the end of my freshman year in school, we're outside or whatever, and I'm helping one of her friends get ready for the algebra test or the final or whatever. Yeah. And Andy came by and her friend introduced me to her. Now, she knew who I was. I knew who she was. We met like in 4th grade out on the playground years before that. Yeah. But we really didn't know each other. But what was interesting, Andy just thought, wow, that's a nice guy. He's helping my friend.
Yep.
That was her impression. Mm-hmm. So the next year, Andy is in class. She's a junior now. I'm a sophomore, and my sister was a senior, and Andy and my sister were in a class together.
Oh, wow.
So you know how you had high school yearbooks and stuff?
Yeah,
I gave my sister the yearbook and asked her to have all the people that I knew in her class, sign it.
Okay.
So Andy puts a message in my yearbook.
Really?
Still have the yearbook too. I could actually snap.
You still have that?
Oh yeah, have them all. But she just wrote a note in there that it was just said some nice things about me, and then the final line on that was, and I can just tell you make a great first impression. So now me as a sophomore, I'm like, wow.
Oh, check this out.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I think maybe there's something here. So
yeah.
Next thing, I don't have a driver's license. She does. And I talked to a friend of mine. I'm like, I need to ask her out on a date. Yeah. So this is 1977, right?
Right.
So I had to convince a friend who had a girlfriend that had a car to do a double date.
Okay.
So that we could go on a date. And then it was in the winter. So and then he got grounded. So like the date was going to be canceled if we didn't figure out what to go on. So we talked his 2 younger brothers into lying to their parents for us, saying they're going to go on a camp out. Now it's October and cold. And so no kidding, we all go up into the woods and put his 2 younger brothers in a tent.
Really?
Yes. And then we went on the date.
Wow.
And the brothers are out camping until we're done with this date.
And they didn't care?
No. Okay. It was just a small town. And I'm like, man, if they hadn't agreed to do that, who knows what would have happened. But our first date was Walt Disney's Herbie Goes to Monte Carlo at the local theater, which was one.
That's the
Volkswagen
Bug
that talked. Yeah.
Is that like a sequel to Herbie? Is that like a sequel? One of the sequel movies to Herbie Goes Bananas, right?
Yeah. They were all during that time. But anyway, we started dating, and her mom was my teacher that year.
Okay.
And so I joke with her mom because her mom is actually single. And I tell her even now, I tell her, you have to be nice to me. I'm the longest lasting male relationship you've ever had. But we've been together and done a lot of things together. Both Andy has got along very well with my family and vice versa with us.
Gotcha.
But her mom had a Lord Nelson tugboat. and started in I guess it would have been probably right around the late 80s.
In Seattle or
yeah,
up
started up here. Kept the boat in Anacortes.
Oh, really?
And then boated up in the BC waters.
Okay. And you guys, where were you in high school?
We were in Post Falls, Idaho, which is right on the state line between Spokane, Washington, and Coeur d'Alene, Idaho.
Gotcha. Yep.
Little tiny town.
Uh-huh.
So her mom boated for years. And then at age 80, sold the boat, the Lord Nelson Tug. Now, the Lord Nelson Tug is a really cool, unique boat. And everyone that's ever seen one, it is the boat that can come into any dock and everyone wants to talk about it. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like the Harley that Andy and I had with the sidecar.
Yeah.
It was an 88. It was classic vintage. And no matter what, people just got happy when they saw it. It was sidecars are intriguing with people. So like at age 80, her mom sold the boat.
Okay.
And that kind of broke her heart because she'd been boating for, 25 years at that point. Mm-hmm. And the boat was getting to be too much maintenance and all this because it was an older boat. So she got into another boat thinking she wanted to be in a more stable boat. So she got a catamaran, had that built. And now catamaran's a great boat and very stable. But what's different is it's not like a little monohull 7-knot max.
Right.
Catamaran's plain, which means you're picking up speed and they're very gentle really on the water, even though it looks like you're going really fast. The wake's very small.
Yep.
But when you're going, 28, 30 miles an hour on water, a boat, your charts are shaking. I mean, it's not a friendly pilot experience.
Right.
So she's like, oh no, this isn't going to work. So put that boat up for sale, found the boat that we have now.
Okay.
And what our agreement was on that was, okay, you buy this. This is not a boat you can single hand. She could single hand the catamaran and the tugboat, but our boat you can't single hand. Mm-hmm. So we said, okay, so here's what we'll do. And keep in mind, now we're in our 50s, so we're looking to do things that we wanted to do.
Right.
We will partner with you on this boat, and then we will extend your boat life if you teach us everything you know about boating in the BC waters.
Right.
And so she did. So picture this: we're in our 50s, and we're spending anywhere from 60 to 90 days a summer, boating.
Okay,
who does that?
Yeah. Okay, so
old people do that.
Does she live in Post Falls and then spend the summers in Anacortes on the boat?
No, she lived in Post Falls, and then Andy and I we ended up in Washington D.C. going to college.
Oh yeah, okay.
In the 80s.
Yeah.
And then her mom left Idaho and came to Seattle to get a master's degree at the U of W.
Got it.
In like 1985.
I see.
We moved back. We were actually left Washington, D.C. in 1985, figuring we wanted to go somewhere on the West Coast.
Okay.
And then we actually happened to be in Seattle in July and broke. And we thought, what a great, beautiful city to be young and broke in. And that's literally how we made that decision
I love it.
to be here. So she was in Seattle at the time.
Okay.
And then ultimately in 2000 moved up to Anacortes and has been up here since. We moved up here in 2003.
Okay.
And have been here since. Mm-hmm. But on the boat thing, I'll take that into work-life balance.
Right.
10 years before that, I spent 1 week on the tugboat with her up in the BC waters, up in the Broughtons. Mm-hmm. And it was, and keep in mind at that time, we were in the thick of the chaos, the stress, the
debt.
You're in your
early 50s?
I was 40. I would
late
have
40s?
It would have been in 2006. Mm-hmm. So I was probably early 40s.
Okay. Yep.
I spent a week on that boat with her. And when I got on the float plane to come back to Seattle, I remember physically feeling ill, knowing I was going to step back into what I was going to step back into. And then what I realized is that I had spent a week, and for the first time in my life, I couldn't tell you what I thought about. I couldn't tell you about the conversations we had.
Yep.
I was so checked out and so relaxed that I didn't even know that was possible.
Yep.
So I had when we agreed to do the boat partnering with her and give that time, we knew what we were stepping into. And I realized, wow, maybe we can pick up some lifestyle, balance there. So because we owned a company, we had to the technology allowed us to do that. We had a satellite phone and all that,
Mm-hmm.
but we called it leapfrogging. So there were either 3 of us on the boat or 2 of us on the boat.
Okay.
And we'd do the float plane in and out, which was another amazing experience.
That
right?
is awesome.
So
yeah.
we're in the BC waters, and then,
know.
oh, geez, too bad, so sad. We got to get on a float plane and fly over all these beautiful islands back to Seattle, right?
Yeah.
So that in itself was kind of an adventure in that journey.
Yeah.
And it was a point where we could just be together
Mm-hmm.
and be quiet.
Yeah.
And just be still.
Did you read a book during those times?
No, Andy did.
Okay.
It's really interesting. I don't want to say I'm kind of weird. I stopped reading books. If this sounds, when I was 50,
you would just sit.
I would just sit, and I'm okay with my thoughts. And by the way, I do a lot of thinking,
Mm-hmm.
but what I've learned how to do is not let my thinking
Yeah.
obsess me.
Right.
So I'm when we walked across Spain, we did the Camino de Santiago.
Oh, dang. I forgot about that. Yeah, that's right.
So
You're right.
I did not do headset.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to find out what goes through your mind when you're walking 800 kilometers in a 30 to 35 day period where you're just,
that's it.
What's that cadence? There's a certain rhythm that you get into. What goes through your mind?
Right.
And that was what I wanted to discover.
That's pretty cool.
Andy took that time because we're walking 6 to 7 hours a day. She listened to Audible and loved doing that because it takes time to read, right?
Yep.
And so I have read a lot from age 10 to probably age, I'm going to say 45.
Right.
I've read, and when I do read, the subjects that I like to read are historical fiction about a place we're going to travel.
Oh, really?
To get the little history bio on it. I'm a fan of biographies. Love everyone's stories.
Right.
Totally intrigued with it.
Yep.
But I also read self-help and the power of positive thinking.
Yep.
All the inspirational, like the Ogmandino, Napoleon Hill, all that stuff.
Yep.
That's all old school now.
It is.
But
great though.
That is the foundation. When you listen to even all the speakers now, they'll all refer to all these old timers.
They've all said it before,
First book I ever read, my dad gave it to me. I was 10 years old, and it was a book called The Greatest Salesman in the World by Ogmandino. Have you ever heard of this book?
No.
Okay. There's your assignment.
Okay.
It's a quick, easy read. You can get it on Amazon.
Greatest Salesman in the World.
Ogmandino.
Ogmandino?
Yep. Amazing, very inspirational author.
Great.
It's a tiny little book. And my dad gave me that book, and I read it, and I did a book report on it in school. Yeah. And it was, when you read the book, then you'll probably know a little bit more about me and the impact or why that connection you have with me. And I got that at age 10.
All right, I'm going to have you sign that book.
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that. It's one of my favorite books.
Good.
And so I did read a lot of mental, I'm going to say self-help or whatever, but just I recognized, I've been fortunate. I've always worked. So I've never been afraid to work.
Right.
Never. I've always had initiative. I just, I didn't see things happening unless somebody did something to create something to happen.
Yeah.
Right. And then I read enough to understand time will take care of everything. Now, it doesn't always go how we think it's going to.
Yeah.
But for me, the secret is keep moving. But I never lost sight of people. And I literally, we have investment portfolios, and we've had it both. By the way, I could talk to you forever about how to fail, because I promise you, I've had some harebrained ideas that didn't work out so well. And we paid the price financially for those. Yeah. But it's all part of the deal.
Yep.
I draw from that on the next move that we're doing or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah.
And Andrea is the same way. And what's interesting is we've been together on all of them. So if we're going to go down, we're going to go big together, right?
That's cool.
But we find that we don't normally go down because we're quick enough to recognize, hey, if we need to change course, do it. now. Don't be upset about it. Just do it.
Right.
We used to think that being successful was something unique and special and different. Yeah. It's not.
No.
We figured out it's in the decision process. Like if you and I are talking about something, you want to do it. Mm-hmm. Fear keeps people from doing a lot of things.
Right.
Fear of unknown or whatever. Mm-hmm. And rightly so. That's a normal thing. And I actually think it's part of the process.
That's right.
If you're going to do something that matters, it ought to do something to you when you're thinking about it, right? Scare you or make you happier. Why bother?
Yeah.
But what we learned is if there's that line, that moment that's going to make us different than the other person. Right. And that is stepping across that line. So we want to do this. We don't know how to do it, but we know it can be done. There's plenty of evidence that people can do all kinds of things. How do I do it?
Right.
Well, one, just pay attention. It's not hard. Just find someone that's doing it and then observe. Right. And then if you're not afraid, ask. Because I have never in my journey met anybody that had something to contribute that wasn't willing to share if I asked.
It's true.
What I've learned is if I offer to share and they're not asking, it doesn't do anything for them. Mm-hmm. And so I've just learned if they ask, I have a test. I've done it all my life with people. People are like, hey, we need to do this or whatever. And I'm like, sure. Okay, here's my card. Give me a call. Mm-hmm. And then it's on them.
Right.
And you'd be amazed how many people don't call.
Right. Okay. They're not ready.
But what's interesting is the people that do, they get it. They get all of it. Right.
Yeah, right.
So anyway, the secret, I believe, was when Andy and I recognized what was responsible for us being successful was not that we got to the line and then made a decision to step over it. It was that we got to the line recognizing we're scared. And then we stepped over the line.
Yep.
And the secret was that it wasn't stepping over the line. It was recognizing that we were still scared.
Yeah.
But the difference is we didn't step back because of the fear.
Right.
And so by getting over the line, now we're committed to what's next and then adapt and modify. So success really isn't a great, unique, fantastic thing that some people have and others don't. It's just keep moving. And then include and don't forget how you got there.
Yeah.
And that's where the people come in.
Yeah.
So now I'm 62, I'll be 63. I'm looking now at our next phase, and we are now in our next phase.
Yeah.
We've traveled enough that if something happened that we couldn't do anymore on our list, I will promise you could go to our Google photo albums over the last 15 years, and it even blows my mind sometimes to see what we've done.
Yeah.
We've done some amazing things.
Yes,
well, I get to talk to people that want to know about, I can't tell you how much of my time now is spent talking to people that want to have our lifestyle or just travel and do the things that we do. Some people are afraid to travel like we do because they don't know how to do it.
Yep.
And we've done it enough that we can give some really good advice. So if someone's only got a couple weeks or 3 weeks or whatever to go do something in Europe, we can spend an hour with them and help them understand how to book their flights, book their transportation, and how to prioritize what they want to do in that time so that it can be a good trip, not a stress trip. Because, people want to get away from the stress. Right.
Exactly.
So our experience helps there. But if we had to stop all that now, we're totally prepared for it because it's part of our phase. We are now in our phase of availability. So we continue to travel while we can. But at any point, if we are needed by anything, our children or our parents or for each other, we can, and we won't resent that. Okay, well, maybe that part's done or we have to put it on the table for now.
Hey, man, you're definitely book material here. What you said about fear, I really like that. Being okay with being uncomfortable.
You have to.
Yeah. And it's not going to be easy. And some of those moments where you're afraid and you go anyway, Like, I really respect that. I can relate to that.
Mm-hmm.
Also, that fear usually means that you're doing something meaningful.
Right.
And so I love that about how you articulated that. And then some of the way you guys can vacation too is good. I heard Matthew McConaughey say one time, like, there's like certain levels at 6 days and for 13 days and 20 days or whatever.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, that's
There's
interesting.
truth to that.
Is there? Yeah.
Yes.
So
they're magic numbers.
Yeah. And so when I do have some holiday, I try to go places where the Wi-Fi is not working, or you're off. You're not. You can put your phone away, and you spend time either hiking or surfing, or
right.
Something where you're not being distracted by even distracted by your goals.
Right.
So I remember a trip sailing where we were in the middle of nowhere, and I was really bored and really frustrated that I was so bored. and you were talking about just being okay with alone with your thoughts. It was kind of like that. I didn't have enough stimulation. I wasn't I wasn't watching anything, or I wasn't reading very much. I read The Man's Search for Meaning, Viktor Frankl, which I really recommend. I love that book. But there wasn't enough to be excited. There wasn't enough excitement.
Right.
But when I got back from that trip, man, I felt like there was reawakening,
renewed focus,
focus. I was just hungry,
right,
for all the possibilities this world has.
You probably experienced making space, creating more space in your mind to absorb a little bit more.
Maybe
what I find when I say checking out or going off the grid, it's not that I'm gone. I'm clearly all there, but I think, well, Andy and I, we call them time bubbles. So how we travel and how we move now. Like, for example, we run our life with a calendar. And this is interesting because that can get rid of a lot of angst for people if they understand it's okay to run yourself with a calendar. Why? Well, remember when I said about, gee, I'm sorry I can't do it that time, I'm in an appointment?
Yep.
That appointment might be my walk on Little Mountain for 2 hours.
That's right. That's an appointment. Yep.
So those are boundaries.
Nice.
So if you want to get rid of the clutter and everyone else taking what you don't have to give or not enough to give, then you can identify your boundaries in your calendar on something like that.
That's good.
And then the other thing that we do is, Andy and I know, we knew where we're going to be in May this year. And you know this about me. You saw me in July before we went back to Ireland. And I was already lining up to you what we were going to do when we went to Scotland in October, and we went to Greece. And then now this year we're going to go back into Italy and Tuscany. And then next year we've got Croatia on the. So we know where we think we want to be and stuff like that. But Andy coined the phrase, it's all in the transitions. How we get there is knowing where we're headed and when we're going to be there. And then we don't lose time and waste time when we're here trying to make that happen. That's a different time bubble. Right now we're in this time bubble. This is our transition here. Okay. And our travels, and especially the Ireland experience for us, is just like being on the boat.
Is it really? Yeah,
because on a boat it's small. And of course our cottage in Ireland, it might be 1,200 feet.
Okay.
Might be.
That's not a bad
size. And
size.
It's old. It's 120-year-old stone cottage.
That's
and
cool.
It has systems. The hand dug well is a kilometer up the way, and the tallest pasture on the road. And there's so we have well, septic, and energy management. Now, energy costs in the EU, electricity is insane.
Really?
It's our biggest expense.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Electricity.
Yeah. You use it, you're going to pay for it dearly.
Is there propane there?
Yeah,
or natural gas?
Yeah, they do propane. So your fuel will either be wood, used to be coal, no more coal, used to be turf. They're getting away from turf, and electricity. Turf is peat.
Yeah. Okay. For heat?
Yeah. They burn it.
Okay.
Millions of year old dirt. that's been dug. And now out of just mindfulness for it as a resource, it's not necessary to use. Whereas before, it really was necessary. We're talking very rural, very I don't want to say poor communities because poor is relative.
Yeah.
You were talking about Carlos and what Carlos is doing now with the farming. If you can live the lifestyle you want to live within the financial means you have, are you poor?
No, not at all.
Not at all.
Right.
And so what Ireland's done for us is magnified the burden of consumption that we grew up with and have here. There is no Costco in Ireland.
Right.
And here we have the benefit of that. But when you think about how we shop, we have Amazon just at our fingertips. Oh, you and I could be having a cup of coffee together, and I might say something. Yeah, I saw it on Amazon. You could quickly go to your app, order it, and it'll be at your house tonight or tomorrow.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay. That consumption in Ireland, they don't have storage sheds. Barns are for the animals. Animals are their livelihood.
Yeah.
They don't buy stuff and store it. And
I think the reason why the Amazon culture of consumption is so damaging to our psyche is that every desire is a suffering. So when we have a desire, we're going to be suffering until we get that. So being in an area where you don't have that Amazon option, I think there's much less suffering. And then also you really get to enjoy those little things like the taste of butter.
Right.
Or like maybe a vegetable, the taste of a vegetable or how it feels. Or growing your own vegetables. Instead of being able to buy them by the 2 pound at a time.
Right.
So there's definitely experiences like that I love to have, in places like Nicaragua.
Right.
And I know you've had in Ireland.
In your place in Nicaragua, you probably are experiencing the same thing we do in Ireland. If that's a system, there's a way that your house has to be shut down when you leave. Things that you have to tend to and take care of. You get a local caretaker maybe to keep an eye on things and all of that. Our Ireland place is like the boat because the boat has a energy management system on it, batteries, right? And we have communication system on it, which are the phone or the Wi-Fi or whatever, and then fuel and water. And so even while I'm relaxing, though, the boat is fulfilling to me because there's still things to manage and do. There's systems that need to be tended to in order for it to work. And it's just this little moving space that we're in. And space matters. So you don't stuff it full of anything you don't need. It's just on what you have to. And in Ireland, when we leave, each of us have 2 of those plastic bins with the lids. And we have our summer, spring clothes. And then we have our fall, winter clothes. And that's it. We put everything in that because it's so moist with stone house. Literally anything absorbs moisture.
So you have to snap that, seal it?
We snap that, seal it, put it in the closet, and it's turnkey. Everything else stays the same. We keep heat on in the winter at a little level. Because Reese and Rowan, they still will come and use the house occasionally. But literally, it's that simple. And we have that rule that anything that we bring in, something has to go out because there's no closets in this house or anything. Which brings me to another point on that in Journey, looking back and even now. Because you can learn the things that work will always work. And so when we were in the thick of our stress, back in that time when we made the decision to be kind to each other, one of the biggest stresses that we were experiencing at that time was debt, just the cost of living and fuel, 2 cars, insurance, debt, credit cards, and not enough income. So what we did to get control back is we did an exercise where we actually went on a cash lifestyle. And it started with a 30-day experiment that grew into a 90-day experiment. And it only took 90 days to make some changes. You've heard the term when you listen to these success podcasts, you're listening, what gets measured improves. Right? In any business management plan.
Right.
So what gets measured improves. Well, the challenge that we had, we got a check, and it was a big check. We had income.
Yeah.
But I personally never saw the money because the check came and then they got into direct deposits. So I never got to experience what is money, the money that I'm leaving the house 80 hours a week.
Yep.
What does that look like?
Right.
So what we did was we cashed the check, went to the bank, cashed the check, and then started an envelope system.
Nice.
We had utilities, bills that needed to be paid, and then our disposable cash. And then we each had a little pocket-sized notebook, and we took, I call it the pile of money. I had a money clip. And for 30 days, we only paid cash. And whether it was a dime or $1 or $20, everything got logged. And the power in that exercise is twofold.
Yep.
One, when you're like right now, I do Zelle and I do Venmo and all that stuff.
Right.
That's just a transaction. It's a number, it's math. And I don't even need to know how to add. It's going to do it for me. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So someone sends me the request, I send them that, and then all of a sudden my balance is down.
Yep.
But I will promise you, if that cash was sitting in my hand, every time I'm looking at that pile of cash, I'm going to make a decision. How far down do I want it to go? Because I'm in charge of that now.
Right.
Not Venmo, not the app. So anyway, we did that exercise where we paid attention to the money, to place value on that.
Yeah.
And then we placed value on us because now we realized we're the ones in control of who gets that. Yeah. So now we have a decision we're in charge of. And so what happened was we realized, wait a minute, we are empowered, but who did that for us? We did. I didn't need my employer to empower me.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm the one that said, hey, wait a minute. I'm the one doing all this work. I'm trading my hours for these dollars. When am I going to place value on what I do?
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
And if you don't want to be controlled in life, get out of debt.
Yeah, I mean the discipline that
absolutely
that takes.
Yeah.
You were rewarded with freedom.
Yes. And you could see it, the value of that. After 90 days, what we realized is we spent a lot of money on things we really didn't need.
Right.
So then you can start the exercise. Why am I doing this? So picture this. That was 30 years ago. Yeah. Now, Andy and I are in our 60s. She just literally last week printed the spreadsheet and balance, identifying the categories of where we spend our money. And we are doing the exercise again.
Nice.
Now, here's what's different. The circumstances are different because we don't have the debt and all that.
Right.
But the reason we're doing the exercise now, though, is because, as weird as this sounds, I asked we have family trusts and we have investment advisors. I asked the investment advisor, I'm 62 now. I qualify to take Social Security.
Right.
When should I take Social Security?
Yeah.
He gave me a great answer. He said, well, that's an interesting question. A lot of people ask it. And he said, the answer to that question requires me to ask you this question. How long do you plan to live?
Yeah.
And I said, well, statistics say I'm probably going to make it to 90.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
He said, how old are you now? I'm like 60. Okay. Yep. He said, so picture this. You're going to live a whole nother generation.
Yeah.
He said, how many careers have you had to this point?
Right.
How long were you in those jobs? He said, you're talking to me about how you're going to make it from now till you die without those incomes coming in and feeding. Now you're going to work on your pile.
Yep.
He said, so the answer to your question on retirement and all that is, how long do you plan to live?
That's it.
And then he said, so you have options along the journey for taking Social Security. He said, I would only advise you to take. Now, of course, he knows our situation.
Right.
He said, if you do not have to have Social Security to pay any of your bills for the next 8 years, he said, then my advice to you is to wait till you're 70.
Yeah, because it doubles, doesn't it?
It'll double and it's tax-free.
Whoa.
Right?
So is it age 75? Is that the last time you can take it? The last age you can take it?
I think so. At 70 is when the magic takes place on it won't be more valuable at 75.
Oh, it will?
It will not.
So 70
at 70
is a good time.
Yeah, is a good time to take it. But what was interesting in taking a look at that exercise was realizing that at this stage in our life, it's more important for Andy and I now because we have money, we don't have debt. We have strategic debt on mortgage. That's it.
That's it. Yeah, good.
Consumer debt, all that other stuff is done because we went on a cash lifestyle and literally have spent probably the last 10 years actually getting rid of stuff.
Okay.
Unburdening, we call them anchors.
Yep.
Getting rid of all the anchors.
Right.
So that we don't have to do anything.
Yep.
But on this next 28 years, think about, it's one thing to be 62 and say 90, and then it's another say in 28 years. Well, picture what 28 years is. Yeah. You haven't even been a dentist for 28 years yet.
That is a generation.
Right?
Yeah.
So we have a whole bunch of people that are getting scared because there's a lot of uncertainty in that.
Sure.
But I also know that I'm not going to live at 90 like I am at 62. The things I'm going to do, my lifestyle should not be costing me more money over the next 30 years.
Right.
I've done a lot of that. So I get to plan how I want to spend what I have. But what we're doing is we are now taking a look financially at how much money are we spending a year? Because are we just not paying attention? I mean, why are we spending all this money? What are we spending it on? And we, at this point, years later, can look at that and go, there are lots of ways we can change even how we are spending what we do have right now by just paying attention.
Yeah.
So I was thinking when we were talking this morning at breakfast that I am right now, right in the middle. Both Andy and I are sitting and revisiting, taking back a little more of our power.
Yeah.
Because if I know, I have a saying that literally I built an entire career on. I was telling you, I went to college. I did not graduate. I actually quit my senior year.
Wow. Okay.
In April, I quit right before my senior year, and that's a good story on the journey.
Sure.
And I'll tell you that story. That was a really interesting experience on that. But I knew I was going to have to work hard. And I knew that not all my opportunities would land in my lap because I didn't have that career. But we're at a point now where I just knew in my journey, the career journey, when you're successful, and I was successful, you have a target on your back, right? So, and you probably have the same thing in the dentistry world. The big business in town's the one that everyone's either going to do one of two things: support and be excited for, or hope they fail. Yeah, it's not always positive. Success, there's a price, right? I developed a saying that I would just remind myself: nobody can stop a man with a plan, because nobody's got a plan to stop. So as long as I stay the course, or as I talked about Andy and I in the beginning, it was Joel and Andy. I remind her it's still us, and we've been through many things. We'll get through this together too. Whatever this is, we're just going to pay attention, watch what's going on. Something's going to shake out, and I'm a firm believer that change is not always bad.
Right.
It puts everyone in a position to have to rethink and take a look and go, what if? Well, what if? And is that right? Should it be that way? Whatever. That's positive.
Yep.
There's a lot of chaos and negativity that comes with it. But when the dust settles, there will always be something good coming out of change.
Right.
So, and if nothing else in this climate, it could be that everyone will just know where they stand. They're not wandering around wondering what they think. They'll start doing their own thinking.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
So anyway, nobody can stop a man with a plan. Well, I'm looking at this budget that Andy's putting together going, so we're in charge of being the ones to make sure that if we think we're going to live to 90, we better have a plan together that's going to work.
Yeah.
Now, while it's working, is a good time to start evaluating, not waiting till, what happened? Where'd all the money go?
I think 90 is a good one if you're going to decide, because health systems are getting better, early detection, better diet, that kind of thing. So I think the average age men is 80, women is 84. I think I want to say. But so 90 is probably the median.
Right.
I think if you made it to 80, that would be below average.
Right.
I would feel that would be a little early death. But then 100 would be something you wouldn't expect.
Right.
But would obviously be possible, but not something you would expect. So I think 90 is a good one. And yeah, as I am getting closer to my 50s, and I'm thinking about, you're about 10 years ahead of me, I think. So like in the journey. So there's some older men in my life that are mentors, and you're one of them. You're the closest though. Shannon's dad is 20 years, older. My dad was 30 years older. And they wait. I think he's close to 70. He's going to take Social Security soon, but he hasn't needed it.
Right.
So yeah, you can't stop a man with a plan. Having a plan, writing it down.
Right.
A lot of people. I like a index card personally with no lines on it.
Okay.
So I've got boxes of those.
Right.
And so,
do you date them?
No, but I should. I should.
You should, because it's part of the journey.
Okay, good. I should date them. And then, but on my weekends, I'll just fill one of those out. Kind of basically, it's like a to-do list.
That's actually a great exercise.
Yeah. When you write it down, it becomes almost like a commitment.
Right.
To do it. So yeah, I love that. That's one of my takeaways. Do you still have all your napkins?
Yeah, Andy does. He's got them in desk drawer.
Okay, nice.
And it's really interesting because her timing is January. So literally, it's almost like a house cleaning. Mm-hmm. She wants she'll do the holidays, and then she wants to go and get all the files and everything all organized again and get them all ready so that when January starts, that's the starting line.
Okay, gotcha.
For me, mine is more fall. So,
really? Okay.
It's weird. Most people are familiar with some form of religion, spirituality, or beliefs and this stuff. Mm-hmm. We grew up in northern Idaho, camped and fished and grew up in the woods and loved that. And then we got away from that when we went to college and got in the city. Mm-hmm. Then moved to Seattle and started driving on the freeways. We kind of disconnected from the woods. Yeah. When we decided to go to Peru for our 25th wedding anniversary, which would have been in 2013, 2012, we started training for that. So we trained for a year, primarily did the Chuckanut Mountain Range, Raptor Ridge, all that. Got into some good incline stuff, Oyster Dome. Mm-hmm. And both Andy and I recognized, wow, it was almost like on the boat. We think different when we're walking in the woods.
Really?
You can walk on the street in a neighborhood and that's exercise. Yep. But you walk in the woods, you're now under this canopy of energy and life, the life cycle. Yep. I just love going up to Little Mountain and right now everything's frozen. So you got to be really mind your step is an understatement because everything's slippery, right? Yep. There's water in the ground everywhere, but eventually that will thaw. And then we know this, we can count on it. The leaves are going to bud. And then it's going to get green, and the little flowers are going to come up, and then it's going to get dusty when the damp is gone. Then it's going to dry and dusty up there, and then those leaves are going to fall off and be very slippery, and also could be dangerous a little walking on those trails and rot, turn into soil, and you can count on it. Yeah. So when people ask me, I keep my funnel really wide when it comes to people on things like religion and politics. Mm-hmm. And the reason why is because everyone gets to come up with their own idea and beliefs on how that works. And who am I to interfere with that? Yep. People ask me what I believe. And I'm really clear on what I believe. It's simple. Mm-hmm. I believe that those leaves are going to turn color and fall off those trees in October and November. Yeah. And they're going to come back. in April and May.
So seasons change.
That is what I believe.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good.
And all the rest of it is just the journey.
Yeah.
Right. In between.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so we are like our interaction. Mm-hmm. I can go back, I can look at my calendar and I can see your journey. All I have to do is look at my dental appointments in the last 10 years. Mm-hmm. A connection that you and I have. I believe in people. I enjoy people. People don't have, it's not transactional with me. And I don't have there isn't you have to be a certain way to qualify to occupy mind space with me.
Nice. Sincerity.
I love sincerity.
Yeah.
When people are real, mm-hmm. I love that.
Yep.
But you're ambitious guy. Mm-hmm. Take a look at what you put together here. I've watched this grow.
Right.
And it was impressive when you started. before you did all that other stuff. Mm-hmm. Because I'm a business owner, I also know what it takes. Yeah. Financially, I'm looking at all this equipment and I'm looking at all this technology. Mm-hmm. You're talking about health. Now, there's a new thing that we're all dealing with now that I think is going to be very beneficial, could be problematic as well, and that's AI.
Yep.
But to think about having the ability to have something, take a look at things that are, I'm going to use a blood lab. There's 50 things on a blood lab that I don't understand or know about. But if you had this AI looking at thousands of labs to find out if there's a certain disease or something that's inevitable. Yep. There's a certain condition that seems to be apparent in all of these cases. Mm-hmm. It would, statistics just say, you're a candidate for that.
Yep.
To think that we could have a tool like that could help us is a great thing. Now, it's kind of spooky, too, if you go down that path and look at it that way.
Yeah.
But if you could eliminate that, and then say, and by the way, based on that genetic profile, you don't need to have as much health insurance the rest of your life as you have right now.
Yep.
We can predict that. So now there's a different rate system based on your genetic makeup. Yep. Would that be such a problem?
That would make sense.
In a world right now where we have people trying to figure out, what am I going to do? Pay my mortgage, pay my rent, pay my insurance,
or these life-saving drugs that I need to take,
Right.
Right.
So anyway, your journey and just the way you and Shannon put together your life, because you're both you're fun people to be around and talk with.
Yeah,
I love that you've got this dental practice here, and I'm talking state of the art. Yeah. I mean, I'm thinking you just did 2 crowns. Finally, we got those silver fillings that might. Yeah. I'm looking at. I think I might have been in high school when those were put in.
Probably,
right?
Yeah.
And those are out of my mouth now. And I'm thinking, and that all happened in a period of about maybe 3.5 hours.
Yep.
Wow. What a technology that is. Right. And my teeth are not anything that I'm embarrassed about when I'm with people. Right. That technology didn't exist.
Right.
25 years ago. The science wasn't there, the machinery and the robotics and I just love that. Mm-hmm. But it kind of takes initiative on your part and a mindset to, be okay with dealing with the banking and the finances and the loans and everything else, and then have a team of people that are counting on you to do what you said you were going to do and your commitment to them on their livelihood. Right? Exactly. That's a lot of pressure. And then with I love what you guys have done up at your place and with your Airbnbs and all that. That's a lot of work. Lazy people don't do that. Right?
Yeah.
Lazy people don't do what you do.
Yeah.
I think there are a lot of people that probably aren't lazy that would do more if they could have conversations like this and talk to people. Yeah. How did you do that? What did it look like?
Right. Yeah. I mean, you're one of those people in my life that has inspired me to make decisions like Nicaragua. I don't know if I would have.
God, that's beautiful. I love that photo you sent to us.
Yeah, it's cool, man. Like, I don't know. I mean, when the opportunity came on and just fell on our lap, I think that when opportunity, meets with preparation, that's when, it happens, right? So you've prepared me. I think you had probably done that. You bought your place, I think, before I did. And I think we shared one time where you're going to stay in my house and I'm going to stay in yours.
Right.
So, and we still want to do that.
You bought your place first.
I did?
Yeah, we bought ours in 22. We made our offer in 21.
I see.
So you were in the process of developing down there, and we were talking about that.
Okay.
But for years, Andy still has it. On email, she would get these international living real estate stuff. So for years, probably the last 20 years, we have been knowing we're going to have international travel and living somewhere.
Nice.
It just happened that because Reese was in Ireland and looks like he's going to stay there on the work visa, it was like, okay, well, that'd be a great place to then, if we're going to go, we'll go there and hub, because that will take us where we want to travel.
That's amazing. You know, I've got a trip coming up with my daughter, and it's for her senior trip. She graduated from high school. A week later, we're going to London, train to Paris.
Perfect.
And then we were thinking south of France. So we need to talk.
Yeah. Get on the water.
I don't think I want to rent a car. Yep. I don't think I want to rent a car.
Right.
And then I also, I think I want to do some training. I haven't really asked her specifically if she even wants me to run with her, but when I do run with her, I don't run, I ride a bike.
Oh, okay.
And so I remember thinking, I'm on an e-bike. She's so fast that I'm on an e-bike getting tired and wondering if I can make it.
Wow,
and she's
that's impressive.
Running.
Right.
Yeah, so she's fast. She ran the mile in 4:58 is her
really
fastest. Yeah.
Wow.
Which is faster than I've ever.
Right.
I ran track in college. So I could never run that fast.
Wow.
So that's what gets her into this scholarship thing.
My curious mind is, would you want to run that fast?
I don't. Yeah, right. You know how painful that is. The first lap, you don't feel it. I did run the 1500.
Right.
Wow. So, which isn't about 100 meters short of a mile. A mile 1600.
Right.
So it's the last 3 laps though, is pain. You know, they say the hardest one's the third one. The last lap is your last lap, so you're mentally you're like, I'm going to be done. Yeah, I'm going to get there. But the third lap is really hard to keep that pace up.
Right.
So she's got big goals to set the school record, which is 4:48, and that's a fast high school record. Right. Anyway, her pace, I don't know what she wants to train. I mean, it'll be right after her school year. I mean, it'll be right before she goes into training in the fall. So I'm not sure if she's going to really want to push it up anyway. Right. But she's going to want to run faster than I can run.
Are you going to stay in Airbnbs or pensions?
We haven't decided yet.
So when you're going to do your renting with her, you may, if you're going to be in an Airbnb, just look for one that's got a bike.
There you go.
That you have access.
Sure.
To something.
That's a good idea.
Or if you book an Airbnb, ask the host if they have any neighbors or anybody that has a bike, because you don't necessarily have to go rent one. The Europeans, it's interesting. You can
somebody's got one.
Strike up a conversation with someone. Yeah, somebody knows somebody who could.
That's great.
Could help out.
That's a great idea.
And don't be afraid to ask. Okay. I guess would be that's what I would recommend.
Okay, I'm going to do that.
Yeah, you'd be amazed culturally. And this is something when we started traveling into Ireland, you know, I'd mentioned our cottage is similar to our boating because we kind of do it in the same increments. We're there 60 days. It's got its systems. We don't just hop in the car and go somewhere. It's so rural. I mean, Friday is market day in Bantry. That's a 35-minute drive. So Friday we go and get fresh veg from Mikey's, and there's a seafood vendor there. So there are not real big fish markets everywhere in Ireland because all the fish they catch goes to the EU. But there is, on the market day, there is one fishing co-op that then brings fish, and everyone that wants fish. What's really interesting is a lot of the Irish people don't eat fish.
They don't eat fish?
No, they'll eat lamb and beef because that's what they raise.
Okay.
So fishing is a luxury.
Is it?
Thing? Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, it took both Andrew and I, but me specifically, it took me a little time to realize that culturally, these people are nice, sincere. And it's almost humbling because here, if we're doing something and we need some help or we need to organize something, we don't want to impose on people. People are busy. So just culturally, we don't, and I'm not speaking for everyone. I'd just say for me, asking somebody to help is not something I normally would do. I don't want to put them out. They're on a schedule. I'm on a schedule. I don't want to take time away from their work-life balance.
Yeah, you don't even think
to handle mine. Right. It's not even in the equation. In Ireland, it is okay to ask for help, and people will help. They won't say no. They actually, oh, sure. Yeah, no worries. No bother. And it took me, it probably took me about a month and a half to really settle in with being a part of the community is really being a part of the community. So we could, if we didn't go engage with our neighbors, we would be expats and we wouldn't be a part of the community.
Right. Yep.
But there we are a part of the community. I will go and have tea with them and sit down and talk with them. And so you might think you have an hour and then you're going to go talk to the neighbor and then they're going to offer you tea and you accept it. You don't. You have to say no 3 times before they really mean it. So they'll, would you like some tea? Oh, no, that's fine. I got to get back. And oh, no, really, I'm going to have some. I'm going to make some. Why don't you have a spot of tea with me? Oh, no. Yeah. No, really, Joel, you should just take some time and get the crack or whatever. I'm like, okay, one for the hand is usually what I'll say, which means, okay, give me a cup of tea. I'll stand here. And then an hour later, I'm heading home to do what I do. Yeah. And that's part of it. We get to slow down. Yeah. And I think, back in time, it's almost when I think about my grandparents talking about what it used to be like. Yeah. They were closer to that because all their parents immigrated from that. Yeah. They were immigrants here and brought that with them. Yep. Our habits, our consumption and our lifestyles and our transportation. And, we're on freeways, 2-lane freeway, 3-lane freeway full of cars. In Ireland, they may have 1 car for the whole house and 6 kids. And they count on each other. So the if someone's going to church, they're not taking 6 different families to the church. One driver that week takes everyone to the church if that's where they're going. If they're going to the GEA field, whatever, it's totally different.
Wow, interesting.
And so if you can imagine this is for real. They do not work on Saturdays and Sundays. There is a work week, Monday through Friday. And if you're going to get together at night, that gathering will start at 7:30 or 8 p.m. because they hold sacred the schedule of work. You work from 8 or 9 to 5. Go get a pint because that's the local. That's where everyone goes and it's going to the post office. They're exchanging the gossip of the day, get the crack, have 1 pint. They don't go to the pub to get drunk. They just get a pint, catch up, check in with everyone, then go home and have a family meal together with the kids. And then after that, they'll go visit with whoever. They don't skip dinner and I'm working late today. Doesn't happen.
I need some of that.
You can learn a lot from that.
Yeah.
And so Andy and I, we have a phrase here. We're going all Irish on this because what we've learned in that lifestyle is that everything that we put the timelines on and the rush is us. That's just us. Because nothing has to get done. That the only thing you have to do every day, is breathe.
Amen.
Right? Yeah. That's it.
True.
And all the rest of it is all this other stuff that we put on ourselves.
That's right.
So we've learned a lot in that, and we everything gets sorted. And a reason why everything gets sorted is what we've learned there is a lot of times we do need to ask people for help to get stuff sorted. So here we will take the time and recognize, okay, this is not going how we thought, but it doesn't have to go how we thought. It'll all get sorted and we can work it out. Yeah.
That's cool. I read a book about how the Irish saved civilization. Have you ever heard of this?
No.
So I think what I got from that is a long time ago. Might have been college years or something like that, but it was who is it? The Irish saint,
Patrick.
Patrick.
Yep.
Was involved in translating the Bible, I think, into English. Isn't that right?
Right.
So
a little bit there from Gaelic, probably to English.
Yep. Yeah. So during that time, there was only a few people that could read, and they were the priests.
Right.
So they spent their time translating the book. One of the only books.
Right.
At the time.
And it probably would have been different. It probably would have been from English to Gaelic in order to have that, because the Gaelic was the original indigenous language.
Okay.
There.
Different than English.
Yeah.
And is it more of like a Nordic?
Yeah, it is. It's interesting. It's a native tongue, and priests and Rowan speak Gaelic. Mm-hmm. It is a very difficult language to speak. And most of the Irish, they're required to take it in the schools, but a lot of them don't keep up with it. There are certain villages they call the Gaeltacht, which is an actual village that's subsidized to keep the indigenous language alive, and that's what they speak. All the signs are there. Okay. All the people, they're bilingual, but the literal, they're actually subsidized to speak in the grocery stores and everywhere in Gaelic.
Really? Wow.
Just to keep the language, because when the indigenous language disappears, it's gone.
It's gone forever.
Yeah.
And can you understand it?
No.
Oh, you can't even understand the speech?
No.
Oh, wow. I didn't know it was that.
It's, they have, it's, well, I suppose I could understand it if I knew it, if I was taught it, but it's very difficult to learn.
Is it from the north? Is it kind of like the influence from like Norway and some of the Nordic countries?
Yes. The Northern European, Scots Gaelic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Icelandic.
Yeah.
Is impossible.
Right.
To understand, and to pronounce. So it kind of reminds me of that.
And that's one of the things that there is a benefit in Ireland. It's primarily an English-speaking country. So as Americans, pretty much everywhere you go, you'll find English in all of those countries. But not everyone really cares about English.
Right.
So like when you're in Portugal, if you're talking to native Portuguese people, they're going to speak to you in Portuguese.
Right.
They don't want you to try to speak with them in Spanish, because their Spanish, for lack of the proper word there, is Portuguese Spanish. It's not Spanish, Spanish.
Yeah.
So, and there's friction between those two countries. Yeah. And in Spain, they want to speak Spanish. Now you can speak English, but you're only going to speak English with Spanish people that give a rip.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and then Italy, same thing. Now, Italy, it's interesting because we've been in all of those countries, and each one is unique in its own way. They're all beautiful.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed Italy because a lot of the history that we grew up with is from Italy.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, yeah, Italy, and then also Greece. So between Spain, Greece, and Italy, I think Italy, for me, has been the most friendly to tourists. And I don't know why. Why I feel that way. I don't know if it's because there's just that many people that go there, and so we saw a lot more interaction. But all of those countries, you don't have to learn their language to navigate your way around. There's somebody that speaks English somewhere.
And France is, from what I understand, the most unwilling to speak English. So,
very true.
So they're doing their thing, right? Yep. And so if you're traveling in France, you're on Google Translate.
Yes. Yeah, and they don't want to teach you French. They don't care.
Right. Yep. And so I'm about to experience that, and I'm looking forward to that. So I've already been to Italy. I haven't been to London.
Well, Cinque Terre, isn't that where you and Shannon got engaged?
Yeah, exactly. Nice job. Yeah.
So we went to Cinque Terre, I guess it would have been in fall of 2022. And that was my first time. in Italy. Great. The villages were awesome to walk in. And I really enjoyed traveling in Italy. From Cinque Terre, we took a train to Pisa, saw the Leaning Tower there, and then went into, so we started in Milan, went to Cinque Terre, Pisa, back to Florence, and loved that. And then in 23, we went back and we went to the Dolomites and Venice.
Ooh.
Oh my God. The Dolomites were, I'm almost embarrassed to tell you how little prepared we were for how beautiful that was going to be.
Cool.
Just breathtaking. We rented a car and we did Airbnbs and hubbed out and drove around. And it's, for lack of a better term, it's the backside of the Swiss Alps.
Yep.
And the alpine meadows and the sound of music, all that was there. It was just.
Was it from Milan? Is that where you rented a car?
No, from there we flew into Venice, and then I actually, Promo, let me think, and then started with a P. I rented it from an airport. So I took a rail to the airport to only rent the car and return it to the airport while we were in the Dolomites. And then we took the train back.
Amazing.
And did that, which is something you may do in future travels. Just know you don't always have to rent it when you need it. Go do what you're going to do. And then when you need one, find the nearest airport and take a train to the airport or the bus and rent the car and use it only for the stretch you need it.
Well, this has got me thinking, like maybe we should fly from, Paris to Venice on like a little jumper in Europe,
Venice is cool. Now, Venice is a pedestrian town. Have you been in Venice?
Yep.
Okay. Really cool.
Yeah,
spot.
Totally cool.
And the beads go out to Murano, the little islands where they have the Murano glass.
Yep.
And all of that.
Yeah, I want to do that.
Yeah.
And then maybe work my way across northern Italy through the Cinque Terre, through all the way to Nice. Because then you get then it's basically more time in northern Italy than it is in like South France.
Right.
Because I'm not sure about that many days in south of France. I don't know, wine tasting. I know which isn't going to be something we're interested in with a 18-year-old daughter.
Right.
So I don't.
Is it just going to be you? Who's going with you?
Just me and
her.
Yeah. So I'm not really interested in drinking a lot of wine. Like French wine or any of that stuff. I mean, if it was, yourself and your wife maybe, and you both enjoyed wine maybe, but anyway, we're just. I like the Mediterranean areas that we're talking about, like Monaco and northern Italy. It'd be great to see the Cinque Terre, and
that one's fun because you have you can walk in any of those. There's walks, and then you've got the rail that will also take you where you need to go.
Mm-hmm. Greece is really steep, though.
Greece is steep and it's big. And how long are you going to be there?
10 days.
Yeah, so that's a real short period of time. So if you were asking me, gee, how would I spend that time there? I would ask your daughter give her options. Yeah. So come up with 5 things, write them down. Mm-hmm. Have your phones ready so she can do a quick Google to see. Yep. And say what we really need to do is we don't want to chew up all our time traveling in between. So let's concentrate. Of everything that we have an option to do, what would you like to do?
Right.
And maybe pick 2 of those places. Take a train or a plane, from Paris, and get on the Mediterranean in the south of France, in those villages down on the water. And just, on stuff like that, I use TripAdvisor.
Okay.
I'll Google, look at a map, find a village, and then I'll click that, and then I'll let TripAdvisor take me to things to do.
I see.
And what I've learned to do, by the way, and I use TripAdvisor for a lot for this. Mm-hmm. I go on to them, and when I think there's something I want to do, I dig into the reviews, and I get deep. I'll go 3, 4, 5 levels deep, because by the time you've read that many, you've got a pretty good brush on what is there.
Right.
And if there's, if it's a 3, keep looking. Look for the 4.5 to 5s.
Yep.
And look for those statements where the travelers that are experienced travelers say this delivers.
Yep.
And then if you find a thread like that, read it.
Yeah,
and
find out what they're saying.
Screenshot it and do what they did.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
TripAdvisor is really good for that.
Okay.
On that level.
All right.
Because with the 10-day period, first of all, traveling that far, you've got jet lag to deal with a little bit.
Totally. Yeah.
And work that in. That's a time bubble.
Yeah.
So like Andy and I, when we fly to Dublin, it's a direct flight for us, but we leave at night here. It's midday there.
Yep.
We don't really sleep on the airplane, so we're tired. But what we do is, because Reese's fiance's parents are in Dublin, we will schedule one night in Airbnb in Dublin, and we will hook up with them and have dinner with them. Yeah. Just to catch up and debrief. The next day, we get on the train and get started. So it's a 2-day bubble.
Yeah.
Coming back, it's a 3-day bubble, because what we'll do is we leave our house, get the car to Reese's place, get on the train, get to Dublin, spend one night there, just ready, knowing that we're going to leave. But then we actually spend the next day in Dublin.
Right.
Just kind of as a debriefing, and then catch the plane out the next day. And so they're right there, there's 5 days tied up in that. So when you're going for 10 days, you for sure you've got 2 days.
Yep.
Chewed up in traveling there just because of the time change. And
all right, then I'm going to do TripAdvisor.
Yeah.
And look at what they're saying in South France.
And I would get all the way on the water.
Yeah.
There are villages similar to Cinque Terre on the South France.
Yeah.
In the water.
Okay, we'll do that.
And that's fun, because you're dealing with fish. Now, in France, there will be fish and sea, but there's a sea life, and there's tourists and boats, and the photo ops are spectacular.
Oh, I bet.
With the cliffs and the rocks and swimming. Okay. Make sure you take swimming trunks.
Okay. Yeah, we'll do
because there, even this time of the year, well, I'm sorry, you're going to be there in June?
Yeah.
Yeah, in June.
Should be warm enough.
Oh, yeah. You just
maybe
need
not
a
in
backpack,
London,
a pair of trunks, and a towel. and literally in Europe, people literally just change right where they are, on the sidewalk, whatever. It's not no beach houses and all that. They just wrap in towels and drop trowel, put on their trunks, and boom.
Yeah.
And just go. It's really wild. Love it. Yeah, actually it is. It's really cool. Really cool. So.
Well, this has been fun, man.
I've enjoyed it. I hope I didn't share too much with you. No. What's fun for me is to, I do like to talk to people, especially about travel.
Yeah.
Because traveling is so rewarding for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things you can learn while you're traveling that can carry over into your own life.
Yeah.
I'm at an age now where I'm looking back, and I'm looking at the youth today, and I'm thinking, wow, their journey's different. I can honestly say that it is different for them. I couldn't tell someone your daughter's age, this is what you need to do to be how I am, because how I got here in my journey doesn't exist today.
It doesn't.
I'm not competing with AI on a job interview, or an application and all of that. So it's a whole different thing. So what I would say to a youth now, because I'm looking at our grandson who's going to be 5 years old, Walter, is sharp kid. But I'm looking at him thinking, okay, what kind of advice would I give Walter? I'm saying, well, I know in your future, your AI is going to be a big part of the future.
Yeah.
So whatever you want to do, if in fact income and jobs are even a thing 20 years from now, I mean, what does that look like? You know, is there a company, or is everyone a consultant? What does that look like?
That's right.
Whatever you do, make sure that you're learning AI and how whatever you're going to contribute coexists with it, not competes with it, because it'll run you over. It won't be. Right. So if you're going to be in a trade, if you're going to be welding or carpentry or whatever, that's great, because that will always be needed. AI won't replace that, but AI is who's going to design that.
Yeah.
So focus on that.
Yeah.
And then, lifestyle and stuff like that. So I just appreciate you actually asking me to come talk. I always enjoy our conversations.
I know.
It's kind of interesting to have it recorded now, I hope.
Yeah, it is. It's strange. It is strange. You're right. So the next thing, let's do this. Let's go on a hike, if you want. Like up in the North Cascades, like that. That's always fun. Like one thing we like to do is a day hike. And have you ever been Heather Meadows? Have you ever done that one?
Yes, up at Mount Baker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the Highway 20.
Off Highway 20 where
Off
you go
Highway
the
20.
backside.
I
Yeah,
think so.
I've been up there. I haven't hiked up there. I've done Sauk Mountain.
Okay.
Up there.
Heather Maple Pass. Have you ever done?
I don't think so.
Oh,
what is that?
You're
Is
gonna
it
love
a
that.
5 hour? Is it a loop or?
It's a loop. Yep.
Perfect.
It's probably about not quite 5 hours, probably 3 hours.
Oh, okay.
How about Pilchuck, Mount Pilchuck? Have you ever done that?
No.
That's pretty cool.
I have a friend that has. That's pretty aggressive, isn't it?
Yeah.
Pilchuck?
Yeah. It gets steep. That's more strenuous, but Heather Maple Pass is
nice.
Bad. Yeah. I like the views from there. Pretty cool, especially in the fall when.
Yes.
Because that's when the heather's changing colors.
Yes. And the huckleberry plants are kind of green and red.
Yeah, and the maple is on like the other side, like on the other side of the pass, and it's all red. So I think that'd be great to do that.
Okay, that'd be perfect.
Okay. So you're going to be in town. You're leaving in a couple weeks for a month.
I'll be gone for a month, and then I'll be back, and then I think we're going to be leaving first week of May.
Okay.
Coming back. We usually come back July 5th, and then we're going to actually have a 45th year high school reunion.
Wow. In Post Falls?
Yes. So we're going to go back and do that. And
your class? Yeah.
My class. And we usually do a combined because actually my class and Andy's class, back in that day, they were all really small. So we all, I was amazed. And still there are probably about a dozen couples that were high school sweethearts that were in our class.
That's a lot.
Are still married.
It seems like a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. So is it true what they say? Yeah. Did you go to your 30 year or in your 40?
Yeah. So I went to my 10-year reunion.
Yep.
Missed the 20. We were right in the middle of it. Right.
Yeah.
All hands on deck. We missed that one.
Yeah. So you're too busy to go to your 20.
Went back to our 30 year, which was great. And then COVID was the 40th. So we opted out on that. Nobody could gather.
Sure.
In 2020. Wow. So this time we're all getting back together.
Because I heard somebody said that during the 10-year, 15-year, even the 20-year, everyone's still in their same. The cool kids are still the cool kids, and the nerds are the nerds.
Yep.
And then at some point it flips.
Yep.
And then that gal that was kind of quiet and nerdy is now like a billionaire or like famous.
Yeah.
And then the one that the cool kids are all like,
opting out or didn't quite turn out.
Washed up and angry or something like that, right?
What I think, so I remember hearing, it might have been my parents, when they went to their 45th, what they realized in their 45th was everyone was old enough that really all they wanted to do was sit around and talk. Yeah. And nobody had anything to prove to anybody or whatever. Mm-hmm. So it was just pleasant. Nobody really cared what you did because everyone was just thankful they were that age and still moving.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
And what's weird is I remember because I was very involved in our 30th reunion and what I had done because I was in the advertising field. So I had a lot of technology and scanners and everything. So literally Facebook was just coming out. It was 2009 when my generation group all kind of found Facebook, 2009. And our 30th was 2010. So I learned something on that reunion. It was really interesting because when we were all growing up, you lost track of people. There was no internet. There was no email. Mm-hmm. If somebody was in class the last day of school and then weren't in class the first day of school the next year, what happened to them? Well, they moved somewhere. Mm-hmm. Someone might have known where they were, but nobody was writing letters all the time. And so what I did was I took all those annuals that we had from our freshman year through senior, so 4 years of annuals, scanned all the photos of all the students each year to keep history. And then the senior year, during graduation, Mount St. Helens blew in 1980, and that was the year I graduated. So it was weird because they shut school down and nobody could drive. There was ash everywhere.
Yep.
If you had a passing grade, you didn't have to do finals. They just automatically, you were okay to graduate.
Right.
What was shocking to me was how many of my friends that I had growing up I thought we all graduated together in high school. And when I actually took the brochure with all the name of the graduates and then took all the photos that we had over the years of all the people that were part of the class.
Yeah.
There were probably about 40 or 50 students that didn't even make it to our senior year that I still know and see.
Really?
Yeah. And it was just weird. It's like, what happened? What was that story? They didn't graduate. I didn't know that. And it was weird 30 years later to see that. And it really didn't make a difference. It was just one of those mysteries, like, what happened to these people?
Mm-hmm.
Where'd they go? So,
yeah, maybe we'll look back and find out that our kids don't really need to go to college.
Oh, well, yeah, that's a whole, that I think COVID might have helped start that journey, because with technology, do you really need to go into a classroom environment to learn something?
Exactly.
And with technology and video and Zoom and all that, you could take classes from a different country.
You could do the whole thing on YouTube.
And college education is not expensive all over the world.
No, you're right. Just in the U.S.
And I'm a business person, and I struggle sometimes with the idea of everyone doing what the American dream, or they're doing it all right. They're doing what they're supposed to do. The students are going to school and they're getting good grades and they're doing everything they need to prep themselves for that college education. But the expense of the education is far exceeds a lot of the income that the people that are going to have to pay for that education have.
Yeah.
So does it really make sense for you to actually second mortgage or go in debt as a parent? To put a young kid in school that hasn't quite figured it out yet. Is that a really good return on investment?
Yeah.
I myself personally, just with my own story, would know I would have been a better investment if that's how school was going to happen for me.
Yeah.
If I would have got out of high school and instead of a gap year, taken about 7 gap years, and at age 25, when I really knew what I wanted to do, then go borrow money and get that education, because then I've got skin in the game.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
right.
Not everyone shares my opinion on that. I do believe there is a benefit to going to higher education, just in people skills.
Absolutely.
And here's the one constant in life that I know. I've built a life on this.
Yeah.
People are everywhere. They are the common denominator.
Right.
The education, that's a luxury and a benefit, but it is not required with people.
Right.
Relationship is required with people. And we can do that without an education if we allow it. So anyway. Yep. I appreciate your time. This has been a great experience. My first time ever doing anything like this. Yeah.
Well, dude, you're fantastic. Yeah, you're going to be my favorite.
No, you'll have more, because you're a great guy, and you're a magnet too. You got to,
thanks.
your vibe, you and Shannon you've got it going on. And what's nice is that you actually think about this stuff. You have a plan and you're doing something unique. And it's like, okay, well, what does that look like? Because your funnel needs to stay really wide, and you're going to draw from everywhere.
Yeah, I knew I didn't want to be like dancing on TikTok,
Yeah.
Like,
well, and you have a great pool of people to work with. You have all kinds of interesting stories coming in and out of here.
I know, exactly.
And with your people skills, I think that people will help you and participate, and you can draw that out of each other. And it'll be beneficial for everybody that's watching this. So keep me posted on how it's going and what's going on. And then
sounds good.
I think I've got my next tooth cleaning something, whatever. And I always do it early in the morning now too, by the way, because I know.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, well, we won't get you too far behind.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Schedule.
We'll do that. We'll do that.
Yeah. And don't ever stop that too, by the way, because that's one of those things that this is your.
Yeah, this is it.
This is your business. That you're the front man on this. And that's why people come to you. The Perry Family Dentistry is a big part of this community. So
yeah,
that's
thanks.
neat.
You're right.
Okay.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah. Good to see you, man.